I'm Dr. Jordin Wiggins, and this is the Pleasure Principles podcast. Join me on this journey where sex, science, and sensuality meet. Let's change the conversation around sex and pleasure together. Here's the thing. We are 3 days into our 5-day Pleasure Mindset Bootcamp event, and there is an overwhelming number of women that have been in relationships for 10 plus years and have been faking orgasms the whole time. Now, you might think that this is an anomaly, but it is more common than you would think. We're going to talk about this today. 1 in 2 women suffer from sexual dysfunction in their lifetime. They lack desire. They struggle to get turned on. Maybe they have pain with sex and difficulty achieving orgasm. This is a topic that gets swept under the rug a lot. Women go to their doctors in this cloak of shame and secrecy, and they're told things that don't work. Members of our group are saying their doctors have told them to have a glass of wine, have more foreplay, use lube, be nicer to their partners. That was male doctor to female patient. So when we get answers like this, we suffer in silence. We feel alone. We feel broken, and a natural thing to do at that point when we feel like there's no hope for us is fake pleasure and orgasm. Am I describing you? This was me and several of the women that I worked with at points in our lives. Women think that living with pain, living without pleasure is the default. It's the standard, that's normal, especially as they get older after children. We think that monthly menstrual pain, having pain with sex, urinary leakage after having a baby, these things are common, but they are not normal. And they're also not things that we have to live with. Lack of pleasure is a health problem, and one of the most common questions I get asked is about not being able to reach orgasm. I get asked, I have been with my husband for 13 years and I don't know how to start the conversation. I don't know how to tell him that I have never orgasmed once. I've been faking it for our entire relationship. Some facts. 40% of women report not having an orgasm the last time they had sex. And in this same study, 80% of the men reported that their women had an orgasm. So there's this discrepancy, this orgasm gap. And don't get me wrong, there are plenty of ways to enjoy sex and intimacy without making orgasm the goal. It doesn't always need to be the goal. But if we are stressed and worrying about how difficult it is for us to orgasm, the fact that we have never orgasmed or haven't orgasmed for years, the fact that we can orgasm on our own but not with a partner, this episode is for you. And so is our upcoming event, September 24th, the Pleasure and Orgasm Workshop, but I will give you more details about that at the end. Having difficulty reaching orgasm can affect your relationship in many ways, especially because of how sex is portrayed in Hollywood movies and pornography. There's some very minimal foreplay, lots of jackhammering, and then women are in multiple orgasm ecstasy. But that is fake life. Let's talk about real life and what's really going on in our bedrooms. Having issues with sex, the faking, it can spread to difficult communication, avoiding sex, trying to go to bed at different times than your partner, trying to shower at different times than your partner, resentment towards your partner for always having an orgasm when you don't, as well as guilt and shame about not being able to, and pressure to perform. In other words, a lot of unsexy things that are definitely not going to help you come. Let me tell you about a Pleasure Principles, our foundation program. Let me tell you about a Pleasure Principles grad. The tension in her relationship because of her inability to orgasm was overflowing in every aspect. She felt like her body was working against her. She was avoiding sex as much as she could. Like I said, going to bed at different times, extending work trips. When she did have sex, she was doing it because she felt obligated, not because she wanted to. He felt frustrated and like she didn't trust him. And let's face it, for men, they have been taught that they should just know how to please a woman. And if they have to ask, then there's something wrong with them. So what ended up happening is she felt bad and broken. He felt frustrated and like there was something wrong with him. So they weren't talking about it. They weren't communicating. Sex became solely about his pleasure, something that she had to get over with, rather than something to enjoy, experiment, share together. She told me she would watch the clock and literally count the minutes until it was over. She'd be writing emails in her head and thinking about what she had to do that evening or the next day. Now, this is a hard pattern to break. It can become a well-worn rut, especially when solving it means going back in time, rediscovering what you like, and putting in time and effort into uncovering what pleasure means to you and what pleasure means to your partner. My guess is that he could feel it on some level, that he wasn't satisfying her. And sex became this elephant in the room of their relationship. They were a team in many other aspects, but they just couldn't get this one right. And this is a hard truth. The way you know how to have sex with your partner, especially if pornography was your default sex education, may not be what's best for your partner. And you have to reframe what pleasure means to you both. Here are 5 things that you have to address in your relationship if your partner has difficulty orgasming. Number 1, time pressure. It sucks to be the partner who's constantly worrying about annoying the other partner by not coming fast enough. If you catch yourself worrying, am I taking too long? What if I can't? You're taking yourself out of the moment, out of the sensation, and further away from actually achieving orgasm. What I recommend is sharing your concerns with your partner before you get intimate. You can say, I worry that I'm taking too long and you are getting frustrated with me. Come up with a phrase that you can use in the moment. For example, I'm starting to feel like I'm taking too long. Give your partner an opportunity to reassure you and put those intrusive thoughts that are taking you out of the moment at ease. And for the men, for the partners that really do think that it's taking too long, women can take up to 30 minutes or more to reach orgasm. So if you take 6 to 8, which is pretty average for a male, what are you going to do to please her for the other 22 minutes? Number 2, the wrong kind of stimulation. Did you know that only about 30% of women orgasm from penetration alone? So let's say that in the reverse. 70% of women do not orgasm from penetration alone. So if we're just going at a statistical likelihood, what are the chances that your partner falls in the 70% or the 30%? If the only kind of sex you are having is P&V, there is a chance that a woman's body is not being stimulated in the way it needs to for her to reach an orgasm. Forget this hierarchy that internal orgasms are better than clitoral orgasms, because guess what? It's all the same organ. So even if you are able, you're the 30% that does orgasm from penetration, we are stimulating the clitoris internally. So it is really the same thing. Thank you, Freud, for this misnomer, which has robbed so many women of orgasms globally and robbed their partners the opportunity of truly, truly pleasing them. There's a helpful diagram on page 82 of my book, The Pink Canary, that shows the clitoris, which is an internal organ, and we are used to referring to it only as like the bulb, the button at the top of the vulva, but really it's an organ that extends internally. Even the G-spot is a collection of nerves from the clitoris. All orgasms are clitoral orgasms. So even if you need stimulation on the outer part of the clitoris, it is not any less valid than only being able to orgasm from internal stimulation. We're stimulating the same nerve structure. So let's do away with that belief that penis and vagina orgasms are somehow better than orgasms using your hands, a toy, or oral sex. Number 3, foreplay. How do you and your partner view foreplay? Is it just a means to get to penetration, something that you rush through, something that you don't even bother doing because you are watching the clock and can't wait to get this over with? Or is it something that you both enjoy, a way to connect and turn each other on? Think back to when you first started dating or when you first started exploring sexually and there was kissing and touching and how much of a turn on that was. We tend to forget that and skip straight to the penetration. Women's desire is often like a pot coming to a boil, like a crock pot. It's not like a light switch that turns on and off for the most part. So think of foreplay as a crock pot that you turn on and need to warm up. Eventually, it's going to get very hot and look out, but it requires a different frame of mind, we're allowing the desire to build instead of on and off. Number 4, stop worrying about finishing at the same time. I know rom-coms taught you that coming together is how you have perfect sex, but it is time to change our mindset. You don't have to feel bad about your partner doing some extra work after they come to get you off, or my favorite, doing the work first to make sure that you orgasm. Consider having an orgasm during foreplay if that's what works for you both, but let's do away with the idea that mutual orgasm is the goal. Number 5, women are more likely to reach orgasm when sex includes deep kissing, manual stimulation, oral stimulation. So make out and get your hands and mouths involved. And it's going to be way more likely that women are going to orgasm during sexual encounters. Women are not difficult. We're not just hard to please. In fact, most of what you were taught about how to please a woman was wrong. So no wonder she's having a hard time coming, and it is not your fault. What you've been taught is wrong. You've been given the wrong map Women's bodies are not broken versions of men's bodies. They are just women's bodies. So I hope you felt comfortable to share this with your partner, or that you learned something about yourself while listening. Most importantly, I hope you learned that you are not alone, and having difficulty reaching orgasm is a common problem that is impacting so many relationships. Like I always say, you are not broken. The story you are being told about sex and pleasure is. What you have been taught about sex and sexuality is the problem, not you, not your vulva, not your clitoris. By understanding this and having these vulnerable conversations, we can start to reverse the overwhelming statistic of 1 in 2 women suffering from sexual dysfunction in your lifetime. And we can all start having better sex too. Because let's think about it. If you are having sex that is super fulfilling and you are enjoying it, you can't wait to have it, imagine how connected you and your partner will feel. Because this is such a problem, I'm running a 2-hour intensive workshop on orgasms and pleasure. We're going to teach you the sexual health education that you should have had to achieve orgasm. We are going to teach you how to be in your feminine energy and receive pleasure. We're going to teach you how to get out of your head and into your body, which is an essential component of orgasm. And we're going to teach you some communication tips for how to start integrating these things with your partner. Go to thepleasurecollective.com/workshops to register. Remember, you deserve love, connection, and better sex than you ever thought possible. Have a great week, everybody. If you like what you heard in this episode, leave me a rating. Your support helps me get discovered by more women like you. Together, we can change the conversation around women's sexual health and pleasure for you, your partners, and generations to come.